Yes, so first company to present today is emerging pharma company Bavarian Nordic. And with me today, I have a CFO of Bavarian Nordic, Henrik Juhl. Welcome, Henrik.
Thank you very much, Klaus, and good morning to all of you out there. I have the pleasure of giving you an update, Bavarian Nordic update here today. So let's jump into it. I think first of all, apart from the disappointing RSV results that we announced during the last period here, we have seen fantastic good commercial and financial results for the first 6 months. Actually, we managed to grow revenue by close to 300%, 278% to be precise, and with a very competitive EBITDA margin of 36%. To the right on this slide here, you will see how we have grown revenue over the last 5 years, 6 years here. 2023, that is of course still to be delivered, at least 6 months of that. That is our estimate, our current guidance of close to 7 billion Danish kroner for this year. So a great first 6 months from a financial and commercial perspective. And the growth that we have seen, the good thing is that it is actually across our entire portfolio. Of course, Jynneos, Imvanex, Imvamune, that's the first line on this table here, has contributed significantly to our growth. And that is our smallpox, mpox business, where we are right now executing on some of the orders we managed to secure last year during the large mpox outbreak. But you will also see here that also our rabies business, that's Rabipur, Rabivat, delivered 34%. Our Encepur, that's the TBE business, delivered 47%. So very significant growth. And we're actually seeing in these travel vaccine markets, we are seeing the markets rebounding with a very, very fast pace. And both for the rabies market and the TBE market, we actually see that the markets, they have now outgrown the market we had before the pandemic, driven by people traveling a lot again, but also driven by an increased awareness about the importance of being vaccinated if you travel to some of the markets where these vaccines are relevant. On this slide here, you also see the first reporting of our 2 new acquired vaccines, Vivotif, that's a typhoid vaccine, and Vaxchora, that's a cholera vaccine, where we reported 1.5 months since we actually closed that transaction in the middle of May. So altogether, we delivered 3.2 billion Danish kroner for the first 6 months. That is more than Bavarian Nordic has ever delivered in a full year. So fantastic record results for the first 6 months. Before I move into the further update, I would like to take just a couple of steps back and remind everyone about the journey that we embarked on 1st of January 2020 and see where we are today on this journey. Back in October 2019, we closed the deal with GSK to acquire their rabies and TBE vaccines, and we did that to enable us to commercialize the business. And before that, Bavarian Nordic was really an R&D based company. It was a company blessed with good relations, good contracts with the US government, where we got a lot of good support to develop the smallpox vaccine, and we also got significant orders, but a very lumpy business and an R&D based company. So we wanted to convert the company really into a fully integrated vaccine or pharma company, you could call it, with also a commercial organization. Today, we are that fully integrated vaccine company. We have expanded our manufacturing. We have a full commercial infrastructure. We have global distribution network. We have dedicated sales forces in key markets like US, Germany, Switzerland, the Nordics. And we have now more than 100 employees working only on commercial and marketing. And that at the time when we announced this, the start of this journey, there was some skepticism amongst investors. Could Bavarian Nordic really handle this? You have no experience with commercialization of vaccines. But I'm very happy to say that we have actually broken several records with the 2 assets we acquired from GSK. First 6 months this year was the highest number of doses ever sold in the first half of the year ever, including the years that GSK owned the product. And on TBE, second quarter this year, highest number of doses sold ever since 2019. So that was when GSK owned the product and before the pandemic. So we've come a long way on our journey, and I think we can put that skepticism to bed, really. But we are not done yet, of course, on this journey. We still have work to be done on the first acquisition we did from DSK. We are working hard on the tech transfer, moving the manufacturing from DSK to us. We have completed the investment that was necessary in our plant in Kvistgaard, and we will fully complete the transfer of the manufacturing second half of next year. And then we did this new acquisition here as well, which enabled us to expand our US presence. We have now 2 more products in the US, an extremely important strategic move for us. Before this latest acquisition, we only had our rabies vaccine in the US, and our organization has been doing really well, but now we can give them 2 more vaccines in the bag, basically. We also took over manufacturing, so we have a new facility in Switzerland that is producing the 2 commercial vaccines we acquired, and which will also in the future produce the chikungunya vaccine that we are developing. Finally, we took over a R&D site in San Diego in the US with very well-functioning laboratories. We have, since we closed the deal, we have assessed our needs and the current competences and capacities at the sites, and we have been through a right sizing of the organization, reducing the size of that organization to really focusing on further development of the chikungunya vaccine. That right sizing will generate approximately 50 million Danish kroner in run rate savings already, full year impact next year. So chikungunya, that was part of the acquisition from Emergent. Very interesting late stage asset. We just over the summer here, we had read out on 2 phase 3 trials, and both trials read out very positively. We met the endpoints. The data also showed that there's a high seroconversion in all age ranges, meaning very effective vaccine. And the good thing is that you are seeing a very fast onset with this vaccine, basically meaning that it works fast, which is extremely important for a travel vaccine. And again, just to remind me, what is chikungunya? Not many people have heard about this, and that's not because it doesn't exist. Actually, you see the virus transmission happening in more than 115 countries, representing 75% of the global population. We don't know much about it because there's no vaccine approved against this today. It's a mosquito-borne virus. When you're getting affected, you typically will have symptoms like fever and very severe joint pain that can last for long. We have one competitor slightly ahead of us, French Valneva. But we do believe we will come to the market perhaps a year later than Valneva, but with a differentiated and potentially superior vaccine, as we are having this fast onset, which again is extremely important when you're marketing travel vaccines, as people have a tendency not to plan these vaccinations very well in advance. It's a significant market opportunity. As I said, there are no vaccines available today, and external researchers have estimated the total market value to be around $500 million. With the acquisition, you will see to the left, we have increased our product pipeline significantly, and we now have 6 vaccines, some developed by ourselves, some acquired. And if you count mpox and smallpox as 2, we're actually talking about 7 different vaccines or indications that we can target with these vaccines. So a real vaccine company. And actually with the portfolio we have today, we can claim to be the largest travel vaccine manufacturer in the world. And I've talked about chikungunya already to the right, but I will also just give a few words on Vivotif and Vaxchora, the 2 commercial stage vaccines that we also acquired. They have been in the market for some years, but during the pandemic, Emergent didn't really invest behind these products. So they are being relaunched as we speak. They are both orally administered. I think the Vivotif, which is the typhoid vaccine, that's the only orally administered vaccine in that space. And the Vaxchora is the only approved cholera vaccine in the US. So there are some competitive edges here. And we believe that with these two products, first of all, we can address a combined market value of more than $300 million. And we believe we can take the revenue of these two products to a level above $100 million a year. So I think with these three products here, we have some new growth opportunities for the company. We also, during the summer, increased our guidance, driven by several factors. First of all, we got another order from BARDA, the US government. We got an order worth $120 million, primarily to replenish the bulk order of the smallpox vaccine. Remember, in the past, we have over the years had several bulk orders from BARDA, where they were stockpiling the bulk, preparing for a future version of our smallpox vaccine. It's a freeze-dried version. And as soon as that development has progressed far enough, the plan is to convert that bulk to a freeze-dried version with a longer shelf life and therefore more suitable for stockpiling in the US. But what happened last year with the mpox, that used to be called monkeypox outbreak, is that we tapped into the stockpile of their bulk to produce liquid frozen vaccines to them that they could use directly in the mpox outbreak. So right now what they're doing is that they are starting to build up this inventory again so that we can fulfill the orders on the freeze-dried version as soon as we are ready for that. We also, during the first half year, we managed to get a handful of mpox orders on their own, not large enough to go out and announce them, but really signaling that there is still a need for mpox vaccines out there. The other week, we saw in Barcelona, the city of Barcelona announced a local outbreak of mpox. We are seeing an outbreak at the moment in several Southeast Asian markets, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, even China. There is an outbreak at the moment. So our belief is really that it's not over, mpox. It has been put under control, partly due to the vaccination programs that has been run in many countries. But it still exists out there. There are cases in all regions of the world, and we believe it will stay there and it will flare up from time to time. So therefore, we believe there will be a future market, both for mpox, but also for smallpox stockpiling. In connection with this upgrade of our guidance, we also included the impact from acquiring the business from Emergent Biosolutions and closing the transaction in the middle of May means that basically we have the ownership of these assets 7.5 months, and therefore we have included the anticipated revenue of 165 million this year and a negative EBITDA contribution of 375 million. That negative contribution is driven by a couple of factors. First of all, continued development of the chikungunya vaccine, but also some one-off integration costs that we will be incurring this year when we are integrating the acquisition. Unfortunately, we failed with RSV. That was a disappointment. It was a surprise. But if you look at it with pure financial glasses, it actually means a net saving and improved financials the next couple of years. So this year we will see a net saving. We have some commitments we need to honor, but on a net basis, it's a saving. And we also have announced already that it means that we approximately 500 million Danish kroner or more we will not spend on R&D for this project next year. In connection with the RSV outcome, we also lost expected milestones from our RSV partner, Nuance Pharma, but we have managed to offset this by the very strong commercial performance that we see within our rabies and our TBE business. So altogether, we're looking here at an upgraded revenue guidance of 6.9 billion Danish kroner this year, and an EBITDA of 2.3 billion Danish kroner. So with my last slide here, I just want to end with telling you how we see ourselves as a company. What is the investment case? How does that look like for Bavarian Nordic at the moment? First of all, we do believe that already today we are a leading pure play vaccine company. We have commercial operations in all relevant markets at the moment, and we have a broad and established portfolio of products with leading positions. These products, they are in attractive markets with a good underlying growth. We have seen how the travel markets are coming back, and now even to a level higher than before the pandemic. We have managed to add in-licensed products to leverage synergies with our commercial infrastructure, and we have a very, very strong focus on continued organic growth. We have a strong EBITDA, but we even have margin expansion opportunities. We are, as we talked about previously here, transferring the manufacturing from DSK of our 2 acquired assets, and once that is complete, we will see even better margins on these 2 products. As today, we are basically buying the products from GSK. So a profitable business. We have a strong cash flow generation from the business, strong enough to honor the commitments the next couple of years to GSK. We still owe them some money. We owe also some money to Emergent Biosolutions that are milestones linked to the successful development of chikungunya, but a profitable business with a strong cash flow generation will enable us to honor those commitments without having a need to raise any additional cash. So I think with that, I will give the word back to you, Claus, and see what questions you have for me today.
Thanks a lot, Henrik, for a really good presentation. And now you mentioned the journey that you took from 2020 and until today, and with 3 phase 3 projects this year, 2 with a positive outcome and 1 failing. You're also a company with a totally different cash flow going forward, because R&D is expected to decrease. Yeah. I know you have a 2025 strategy in terms of margins and so on and so forth, but there's a question here about, are you going to update that strategy with the very strong cash flow you have? If you could elaborate a little on that, Henrik.
Well, I think it's for sure our R&D investment will look significantly different the next couple of years. Already next year, as we will not invest in RSV, obviously, and it will sort of trend towards the more historical levels eventually for Bavarian Nordic, which it is around the 400 to 500 million Danish kroner. Whereas this year we have spent, if you look at the spend level, that means including the what we capitalize as well, it's around 2 billion this year. So a significant change is going to happen over the next couple of years. But that was, of course, also expected if we were successful, because we were passing sort of the peak investments with these phase 3 trials. It was and is a very unusual situation for a company like Bavarian Nordic, having 3 phase 3 assets reading out. So it's we often get the question, will we still do research and development? And the answer is yes, we will. I think you can't run a fully integrated pharma or a vaccine company without doing some research, but it will automatically be at a totally different financial level, as we will not have expensive phase 3 trials for many years onwards here. So, and that will of course improve our margins. We have in our vision, we have set an ambition to deliver at least 25% EBITDA margin. If you look at our guidance, that implies we're delivering 33% this year. So we're beating that ambition already. And I'm pretty sure that the 25% in our vision is somewhat conservative, but we also say that we will deliver at least 25% going forward.
Thanks a lot, Henrik. And then a question on the pipeline, which is actually the topic today. We're still waiting for some final data on the COVID vaccine. Would that decide whether you go further with the vaccine, or have you already decided on this?
I think it's the whole COVID space is very, very difficult space at the moment, of course. I think with the vaccine that we are developing, ABNCoV2, has demonstrated that it is non-inferior to Comirnaty from Pfizer, meaning that against the Wuhan, the original strain or the original variant, which means it works. If the vaccine had not mutated as far as it has right now, so it would have worked under the pandemic in the beginning. It has also demonstrated that it worked against the variants that were relatively close to the original Wuhan. So, and the authorities are moving in a direction where you need to adapt your vaccines. That is not something we can do, at least not with the time frame that the regulators are anticipating and requiring right now. So what we are looking into in the future is probably a market where every spring, or maybe April, May, the regulators will tell you what variant to target. And then in September, new vaccines, adapted vaccines must have passed a relatively simple regulatory approval process, be manufactured, and be on the shelf ready for vaccinations in the autumn. The platform we have simply cannot do that. So the only hope we have outstanding is with the remaining data, where we are testing it, the vaccine against one of the more distant variants called XBB.1.5. The last hope we have sort of is that we demonstrate that it actually works well against this more distant variant, and then we can take up a dialogue with the regulator to say we don't need to adapt the vaccine. But I have to say, we do not have high hopes when it comes to commercialization of this vaccine. We have proven a lot of good things with the vaccine: good safety, long durability of protection. It's highly efficacious against the disease that we targeted. Unfortunately, the disease is not what it was originally. It has mutated so far out that there is a risk that it simply is not effective against the current circulating variants. But let's see. I think we are awaiting the data, which can come anytime now.
Thanks a lot, Henrik. And then just a final question about some good and positive stuff in relation to chikungunya. You mentioned that Valneva is a competitor, and they have they have some advancements in terms of they're a little earlier in the process. You already know Valneva. You have a cooperation with that on the other, I think it's other revenue in your P&L statement. Is it right that you have a much stronger sales force, where Valneva is more focused on the French market and French-speaking markets?
I think it varies from market to market, and that's exactly why we have a partnership with Valneva. We are strong in US and Germany and Switzerland. So Germany and Switzerland, we market their products. They are stronger than us in the UK, for instance, France, Benelux countries. And that's why we have the partnership. One of the things we wanted with this acquisition here was actually to give Bavarian Nordic scale in more markets, so that eventually we can expand our commercial footprint into those markets as well. So now we will have Vivotif, Vaxchora available also in the UK, etc. And so gradually building up to a scale where it makes sense for us to take over the business, take it back from Valneva in other European markets primarily. But I think we believe we're in a strong position. They will have a head start, maybe a year and a half, maybe earlier than us. But remember, there is no vaccine available out there today. The market needs to be prepared. You need to develop the market first. So they can take some of that investment, and then our plan is, of course, to enter the market with hopefully a superior product and piggyback on their early investments.
Thanks a lot, Henrik. a really good presentation, and thanks for all the good answers to the questions. So with that said, I would like to say thanks a lot, Henrik.
Thank you very much, Claus, and thank you all for listening in.